There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Shateva Long, and I am a senior majoring in computer science here at BU. And the topic of my presentation today is broadening participation in computing by assessing the climate of tech at BU. And the reason why I decided to take on this project of assessing the climate of tech is because during my few years here, I've seen my peers struggle immensely while pursuing their education. And I wanted to look into whether their experiences and whether their difficulties were typical amongst other computing students, and overall figure out what is the experience of a student in a tech and computing related field, and overall figure out, okay, what are the problems and the challenges that many students are facing. I also wanted to look into whether these experiences differ between students depending on their social identities, and if so, how. So to answer these questions, I decided to create a climate survey. I create the survey by taking inspiration from already existing climate surveys. For example, I looked into the CRA survey that's been previously administered in the computer science department. And I also looked into the University of Michigan's computing survey to make this survey. And I was able to collect 632 undergraduate responses from students in computer science, computer engineering, data science, information systems, and math and stats. And I also conducted a series of focus groups with 13 students in total. I'd like to shout out Marina Barros from Questrom and Sarah Lubin from ISNT, since they were a really integral part in conducting these focus groups. And they're also a part of the DI and Tech Collective, which is an initiative that we started around the same time as when I created the survey. And that's really where we've been housing this work. And lastly, I created an online interactive data report so that we can make this data public. One, so that everyone in the BU computing department can understand student experiences, but also so that department leaders can see these student experiences and use them to make change and create initiatives that address the needs that were brought up in this survey. So here's just some of the data that I'm going to share with you guys. In the top left quadrant, we have students who responded sometimes and oftentimes to the statement, I'm overlooked or ignored when working in a group. And as we can see here, 37% of female respondents and 56% of non-binary respondents had these responses, which means that these students in these particular groups, more students felt like they were basically outsiders when working in a group or felt like they were ignored when working in a group. In the top right quadrant, we have students who responded strongly disagree to the statement, I had an easy transition from high school to college. And if we look here, 21% of first-gen students had these responses, whereas 8% of non-first-gen students had these responses, which shows that there may be challenges that currently first-gen students are facing that's making their transition from high school to college more difficult than non-first-gen students. In the bottom left quadrant, we have students who responded never and rarely to the statement, I am comfortable going to my advisors for my major. Honestly, this one shocked me because as we can see here, 42% of Black students and 48% of Middle Eastern students said that they never or rarely felt comfortable going to their advisors, which is honestly a huge problem because advising is such a huge part of our academic careers. In the bottom right quadrant, we have students who responded sometimes and oftentimes to the statement, I feel like an outsider. And honestly, regardless of race, a lot of students said that they felt like outsiders. But if we look at Black students in particular, 70% of Black respondents said that they feel like an outsider. And this is a problem. We want to create an inclusive space for everyone to learn. And in order for us to broaden participation in computing, we need to ensure that when we attract students here, that they stay here and that they want to continue working in computing. And what these findings show is that there's a trend with many students in certain groups feeling like outsiders are not feeling included, but there's also some barriers preventing some students from accessing resources such as advising. And based on these findings, I believe that Boston University's broadening participation in computing plan should incorporate goals that, one, focus on enhancing support for historically underrepresented students. For example, having more resources for first-gen students in particular, or just directing them to resources that currently exist on campus. In the focus groups, a lot of students said that they just don't know where to go. And there's a lot of resources, but we need to ensure that we actually utilize these resources and ensure students know where to go to access these resources. And also, secondly, creating and encouraging a culture of collaboration and inclusion and belonging among students. This may look like having more collaboration in early courses so that students are aware of how to collaborate on a tech project. And it's better to start this early so that maybe we can have students who feel like they're actually part of a group, because now everybody knows how to collaborate and work together and what's appropriate when working in a group if they've already been exposed to it. I know this is something that I wish I had in my computer science experience. I had to wait until I was a senior to learn how to work in a group on a tech project, and that just shouldn't be. And I feel like this could lead to even more inclusion because students will already be exposed to working together and working with different people instead of just staying to their, own groups and people that they feel the most comfortable with. We want to encourage people to work together. That's honestly the best way that we'll even have the best technology and make a change in computing. And if you're interested, I have way more findings. You can scan this QR code here to look at the data report that I mentioned earlier. You'll be able to interact with the data for yourself as well. So I definitely recommend checking it out. And hopefully this data could be used to influence plans like this and initiatives like these, and also influence any other DEI related initiatives on campus. Thank you.